Lots of people ask me, Henry, can you find me a property that has some great cash flow, but also that has some really good capital growth over time? And I'm here to tell you that such a property does not exist. What I want to do today is I want to run you over the principles of why that's the case, but more importantly, what we see by talking to tons and tons of investors every week, and hopefully give you, by the end of this conversation, give you the tools so you can decide what's best for you, but also so you can actually think a little bit about how this whole thing works in a way that is not intimidating, but that will be rather simple to understand. I'm here in the new studio, as you can tell me, so we're going to play a little bit with technology, and hopefully technology will work out. So let me see. I'll try to show you my iPad here. And I think we have it. So I think we have, you can see my white screen there. And listen, the reality is when you look at all the properties in the market, all types of properties, not only rooming houses, but everything else, properties live in a continuum. And I'm going to draw a line here to try to kind of represent that continuum. It's not super straight, but hopefully it'll be okay. And then we're going to actually write some stuff here in terms of the 4 kinds of property there are. They're really a continuum. They're not just 4, but we're just going to draw 4 of those lots so that way it makes sense. So we have properties here on the far left that are, these properties are, or they're negative cash flow, and they're all about capital growth. These are the usual suspects. These are the properties that you invest in, lose money on every month in the hope that over time they'll go up in value. Now, whether they go up in value or not, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. History, not necessarily the best predictor of the future, but these are properties usually in the inner suburbs of the bigger cities, properties that will definitely be negative cash flow for a long, long time, but in the long run should go up in price. That's at least the dream that we have been sold over many, many years. Now, that's not the only type of property. So here in the next slot, if you like, the next type of property are properties that are, you get little cash flow, and they're mostly about capital growth. These are properties, single rentals in places like regional towns and stuff like that. Properties that, they're cheap to buy, where the rent's cheap, where hopefully the rent covers the mortgage and maybe leaves a little bit left, but not much. Most of the money that you expect to make out of these properties is in capital growth over time, because you're not making a lot of cash flow kind of every month. And that's just kind of the way it is. Now, the next group, somewhere around here, are properties that have good cash flow, and some capital growth. Some of the properties we build are in this particular category, things like rooming houses and other types of property. And then far here on the right, you have properties that are great cash flow, but little capital growth. These are the properties that will produce some great cash flow over time, but won't necessarily go up in value a lot. So capital growth, it's very limited. Cash flow, it's kind of what you get. So now, when you look at properties, in those four things, you can't have them all at the same time. Like I said, it's a bit of a continuum, but it's almost like as if you think that, each property is kind of like this line that you draw there. So you ultimately need to decide where you want your line to be. If you think about it, it's almost like that line moves left and right based on what you're after and based on the type of property you have. So if you have properties over here that are, negative cash flow and all about capital growth, you have properties here that are great cash flow but very little capital growth, and then you have some stuff in the middle, whether it's good cash flow and some capital growth, or whether it's little cash flow and mostly capital growth. And then I guess somewhere here in the center, there's a hypothetical property that will do a little bit of everything. Now, here at Stone Horizon, obviously, we've been working with investors for a long, long time to design, build, and operate high cash flow rooming houses. Most of our properties are in this part, in this side of the continuum, if you like. Properties that have cash flow first, and then out of those properties, some have had some great capital growth, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years. Some of them have had more limited capital growth, depending on kind of where they are and depending the location and the type of property. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether you want a property on that side of the continuum, a property that is designed for cash flow, a property that is, will grow over time, albeit maybe not as fast as some of the internal suburbs, some of the inner suburbs that we have seen over the last 2 years, or whether you want a property that is on that side of the continuum, a property that is all about capital growth, where you're actually obviously financing and topping up the mortgage every month, and obviously covering some of the expenses. There's no right or wrong here. Obviously, we have a view. I personally, my own portfolio, have decided to obviously invest in high cash flow properties, but there's plenty of successful people that have invested in other types of assets. Ultimately, what's important is what works for you. Ultimately, what's important is which type of asset works better for your needs, for your goals, and for the current state of your portfolio. That's all I wanted to share to you today. Just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an overview on some tools so you can think differently about the cash flow versus capital growth continuum. If you're interested in this type of stuff, if you're interested in high cash flow properties, follow us. We do a lot of information. We put a lot of information out there about this type of property and investors around it. We're about to do a series on the Rooming House Millionaire, which you can see just there behind me. We're going to turn into a bit of a video series soon, so feel free to subscribe or follow or connect in any way you can, and I'll be talking to many of you very, very soon.